All right, I think we just kicked in live. So I'm going to go ahead and paste a couple of links here into the comments as soon as the comments appear because I want to speak to why I'm giving you the link to a resource that I think will be helpful to all of you. And this is actually an affiliate link to my good friend Ron LeGrand, who many of you may know mentored me going way back to the early '90s, and we've done lots of deals together. So I really think that he's somebody who can add a lot of value, and I want to explain a little bit about why I would send you in his direction here. So let me catch us up to speed first of all. So what I'm doing here and what we're in the midst of is a 21-week training that shows you from soup to nuts. That's why it takes 21 weeks. Exactly what you need to do to get started in real estate investing and be successful enough at it that you can scale the business up. It's effectively a roadmap, a road atlas that'll get you from a starting place to the destination, which of course is getting paid in big chunky deposits, creating cash flow, and building wealth by having a portfolio of properties, some that you'll churn over to buyer, some that you'll keep while you go through buyer after buyer after buyer, getting debt paid down, potential appreciation. Even if you don't, it doesn't matter. You still have a spread between what you end up owing a seller on that house and what you've sold it to your buyer for. So there's just a massive amount of wealth creation, dollar creation, cash flow creation, opportunity that's right in front of us when we learn how to implement these strategies. So I'm giving you 21 weeks of this. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's really, really difficult to take what I'm giving you and be successful in the way that you want to be successful without having somebody to coach you through each of the elements. Just like it used to be sort of difficult, you could get there driving from point A to point B. Did I miss the exit? Am I on the right road? Is this where I'm supposed to turn left? Is this where I'm supposed to turn right? Lots of anxiety. That anxiety manifests itself in doing real estate deals to a much greater degree than it does driving, and you don't want that. It'll cause you to either lose money for real or not make as much money on your real estate deals. So today when we drive, we use a GPS. We use a navigation system. We don't even have to think about if we're on the right road or did we miss the exit. The GPS says it right in our ear. Well, that's what a good coach gives you. That's what I give you. Is I'm in your ear. Turn left, turn right. There's the exit ramp. There's the bank. Go get paid. And I'm a heavy advocate for that. So much so that I don't even offer a paid roadmap. I don't feel good about taking money for a roadmap, even though I know the information is substantive, highly substantive. I mean, I don't think you'll find another group where I literally give the whole system away here in terms of what to do. You don't get the implementation help though. And the implementation help is something that you have to buy into with the coaching. It's chump change in terms of the amount of money, right? Most coaching programs, will be multiples more than what mine is. And there's a profit motive for why I do that. I know that I can get you good at this, and then later on, it gets me in front of bigger deals that you're going to be in front of, and it creates deal flow for me. So I use it sort of like a loss leader, the coaching, to your benefit. You go to Walmart on Black Friday, you get a $99 TV where Walmart isn't making any money, but the fact that you're probably going to do other things in that store makes it worthwhile. Well, I can bring you into this coaching for cheap, get you going. Now I've got a relationship. Now you trust me. Now you know what I'm doing. You know what I'm talking about, and you're going to come across some kind of deal that we may end up joint venturing on, and that's where I can make big money, and you too. So that's the rationale for keeping it cheap. But it also is part of the rationale for why I'm driving towards something. I'm not just trying to sell here. So hear me out here. I don't feel good about putting a product out there where, even though I know it's substantive and I know it can work, the data is pretty clear that 95% of people aren't going to be successful in real estate following a roadmap. And the data is pretty clear that almost 100% of people are successful when they have a quality coach shepherding them through the forest. So I prefer to focus on where I can be 100% successful and not where I can be 5% successful in helping people. That I don't feel good about that. At the same time, there's a couple thousand people in this group. So to make 5% of you successful without coaching, that's 100 people. That's 100 lives that you impact. So, even though I don't get paid on that, I'm still happy about that. But I want to give you some food for thought on, because the vast majority of you are one, you're not going to be able to come into coaching with me, but two, you won't even have the gumption to do it. There's something holding you back from understanding that you put a little in now and you get a lot later. But what I want to speak to is, so we're in our second quarter now. In the first quarter, there were a few of you who got on the phone with me. I wasn't able to take you into the program, even though you're ready to come into the program. I like to keep the program small. I devote, quite a lot of time, energy, my own money and resources into getting you going, getting your business set up, and getting you making money. That, there's only so many people I'm going to take per quarter. We're at the beginning of a new quarter, so those folks will come in, and and I have spots for this quarter. But you should probably get on a call with me soon if you want to get going. And y'all know how to do that. I don't got to post any links up in here. So what I'm going to suggest to you is, one, you do that because there is no better value in real estate, and I'll share with you why. But I want to give you some other choices, because the truth of the matter is I'm not the only one who knows how to do this. And not all of you are going to be able to come into this program. So what I did for the folks who I didn't take into the program in first quarter is I referred them out, and I think it was a good thing. So this is opinion, right? My opinion is that the next place that you would want to go to get this kind of an education is where I put that link in the comments. And that is to Ron LeGrand. Ron LeGrand has a quick start real estate school that you can sign up for, and you get on his list. You'll get all kinds of opportunities for education. The thing about that is that if you want to get the coaching that I'm talking about, it's not from Ron. It's from it's from a student of his that has had some success, who will give you 6 months of coaching, I think like a half hour once a week, and it's $17,000, at least the last time I checked. Okay, I'm not charging anywhere near $17,000 to come in coaching. You get the coaching directly from me, and it's every day. So you be the judge on where the value is. But what I'll say is, even if you went and did that, you're gonna you ought to expect to make a hell of a lot more than $17,000. So most people average $25,000 on their first deal. So even with that, you're going to get a massive return on investment. But for obvious reasons, I'd say you're probably better off coming into this program. But that would be a close second. Now the third best is what most of you are going to do. And the truth of the matter is, I don't offer something quite like this, because it doesn't make sense for me to do it when I know that just getting static training and static education is generally not enough. And I also don't want to just give it away without the coaching that puts everything into the right context, and which puts me in kind of a weird situation. So let me tell you what I'm driving at. This is a 21-week program. The first few weeks, we focus on strategy. What are the different strategies that allow us to buy any house from any seller in any market without using any of our own money or any of our own credit? The next level of education has to do with your approach. How do we approach the seller in a way where we can be ambivalent as to what choice they make on the disposition of their house, but that where we are able to profit and monetize all situations that sellers have. No matter what they want to do, we're able to service that choice and profit while at the same time giving the seller what they want. It allows you to be consultative in your approach with the seller. It allows you to be agnostic to what their answers to your questions are and simply plug them into the right slot so that you can make money. So we focus in on that approach. The next several weeks, catching us up to where we are now and what we covered last week and in the previous few weeks, was how do you answer their questions about the different alternatives they have? How do you handle objections that they may have? How do you handle concerns that they may have? And we covered that, across a 4-week period. So once you have strategy followed by your approach, which is really scripted out, followed by how do you ebb and flow with the dialogue with the seller, you're going to be getting deals orally agreed to on the phone. Well, when you orally agree to the deal, what do you do next? You got to memorialize it in writing, right? You got to get paperwork to memorialize the terms of the deal that you've just structured. So here's the rub. How do I actually show you how to utilize contracts and agreements without actually giving you the agreements? And, we're all in different states. Now, my agreements will work in any state. However, it's not just advisable, it's required from my standpoint that you run any legal agreement, which is what a real estate contract is, through an attorney and make sure that anything that's needed from a regulatory standpoint, from a compliance standpoint for that particular municipality is included. There's all kinds of disclosures, as you go state by state. So you need to use an attorney. And because I've done so much real estate over 30 years, I have a contract that I use that I'm constantly adding or editing, and to the point where the value in terms of the legal input into the contract that I use is, well over $100,000 in legal fees. I don't want to just put that out into this free group. I mean, I got to have something that adds additional value beyond just my coaching in the program. So I'm not going to give you my contract, but I'm going to tell you where you can get one that frankly is probably just as good. I feel like mine's a little more protective and a little bit more sweeping, and your attorney will have less work to do if you start with mine as a baseline. So what I'm driving at here is the third best choice, right? First best is you come into my program because the value is exceptional compared to what you get. You get way more coaching. You get the coaching directly from me. You get a strategy that allows you to make money with any seller. I actually give you leads in this program so that you can focus on the seller phone call, which is where the deal is made. And then you have direct access to me pretty much for life and on a daily basis, not a half hour once a week for 6 months at, 3-4 times the cost of this program. So you do the math on that as to what, the number one choice is. But the number two choice, I think you're going to get an extremely good education going to where I just sent you in this link, which is Ron's Gold Club. Okay, you see the link? There's the picture of the Godfather himself right there, Ron LeGrand. I put that link in there. It is an affiliate link. If you sign up for it, I get a couple of bucks, but who cares? I mean, I don't even care if you use it. You can use whatever you want. But what I'm suggesting is probably use that link, go into and consider signing up for this Gold Club. Now, let me explain why. It's second best because one, you'll get a good education, and then of course they're going to try to sell you into the mentoring because they should do that. The mentoring is something that you need to be successful with real estate most of the time. 95% of the people need some level of mentoring. Otherwise things just get totally screwed up or people get discouraged and they end up quitting. So you'll be pushed in that direction, but you'll also have the choice to come back over here and say, well, I think I can get a better deal with Joel, but at least you'll have had some of the education that I'm giving you free in this group, because there's lots of trainings in this group and on YouTube and whatnot, and you'll see how it correlates with the training that you're getting elsewhere. That you'll get from Ron, for example. And I think it's good to hear things from different sources, and to, in order to develop your own style and your own view on how you want to invest in real estate. And, I think it'll be extremely supportive towards what you're trying to do. And it's not very expensive, right? So that you can get away with And I might be wrong on the price. I think it's $60. They send you a wholesaling course, and then maybe you get like a month of the Gold Club. And then I think you have to sign up for the Gold Club. I forget the price of it. I think it might be $99 a month. I might be wrong. You can check it out though. But let me explain to you why I'm putting this there. And the reason is I don't want to give you my contract. And the next best contract is the ones that you get for free in there. In fact, let me just tell you all that you get, because it's probably the best for people who aren't going to get coaching. It's the number one value in real estate if you're not going to get coaching, because here's some of the things you get when you join that Gold Club. There's like a private lender website that's a template that they set up that can help you attract private lenders if you need them for your deals. Sort of the way we do it, we don't really always need private lenders, but sometimes you come across deals where you want them. And it's also a good skill to learn. So you'll get that. But importantly for what we're going to be covering over the next few weeks is there's a forms and agreement library. You don't have to be in the mentoring there to get access to the forms and agreements that Ron has developed. You just won't have anything more than static training to help you get through using those forms and agreements. You really want a coach to help you write the contracts, until you get used to it. So you can download the purchase and sale agreement that they have there, and I'm going to speak to, at least conceptually, how you need to be thinking about filling those out. And then there's just a whole lot more. You can write in questions. Ron will answer them. It's really a fantastic resource, and it helps a whole lot of people. So I can't recommend that highly enough. All right. Now, having said that, let's talk about what I started with, which is we've got a strategy on how to plug any seller's house and desire for the disposition of that house into a solution that works for them and works for us, meaning 100% of the total addressable market of sellers, as long as they're willing to sell the house, they're going to do one of the things that we're able to service. So we can make money on any house. Now, not 100% of the people are going to use you. Somebody's going to look at me and say, oh, I don't like his long hair. Oh, he looks like a girl. Oh, he's wearing an AI shirt. You know what I mean? I don't like AI. Whatever. Not everybody's going to like you. But you're going to have a high conversion ratio because you have the ability to do whatever it is they want to do with the house, and you don't have to niche them in. Like if you're a wholesaler, you can't touch that house unless they have equity in it. Well, a lot of equity, because you got to get that thing at 60 to 70 cents on the dollar, and or less than that sometimes. So one, there's got to be equity. Well, that excludes a lot of the houses. Two, there has to be a willingness to sell the house for way less than its value. That's going to exclude quite a lot of the houses. But with my system, we simply ask questions and we plug them into the right slot. They're going to do something that we're able to service. So that's the first piece. Then, so in order to get into that discussion with the seller, there's an approach that you take. Okay, so we learn that, and then we learn how to conduct ourselves on the phone with the seller so that we can get an oral agreement on what they're willing to do, and then that takes us in to actually doing the actual paperwork. Okay, so the paperwork goes like this. When we buy the house, meaning they're willing to deed us the house, it's either going to be a straight up cash deal, traditional kind of deal where we're buying it for cash, or we're locking it up for a cash price, or maybe there's a new loan that's coming in to fund our purchase. We'll use a purchase and sale agreement for that. Or we're going to be taking over existing debt on the house, where we're taking over the payments on the house. And we get the deed, their name stays on the loan, but we get the deed to the house and we make the payments on the house until we pay it off in full. That's called taking over a property subject to the existing mortgage, because you own the property subject to the fact that there's a mortgage on there that has to be paid off, and it's in their name. So we use a purchase and sale agreement for that because the deed does transfer even though the loan doesn't. Okay? Sometimes the house will be free and clear, but the seller's willing to take payments on it because they can get more money, avoid realtor commissions, have it done right away, and get cash flow on the house. There's lots of reasons why people do that. Again, we're going to use a purchase and sale agreement for that, but we have to write the terms in the agreement. What's the monthly payment? For how long? What's included in the monthly payment? Is there taxes? Is there insurance? Is there a due on sale clause? Is there a prepayment penalty? Is there a balloon payment? Does it amortize? Is there an interest rate? All those kinds of things have to be conducted. Hopefully you guys are getting an idea why you might really want to consider getting a coach. It's very easy to mess this stuff up, and there's no way I can put every single nuance into a static training. Even in Ron's system, every single nuance that could possibly occur isn't covered, which is why he offers coaching. And and I think that'll be like, if I was dead, I would highly recommend that you get that. You'll pay a lot more, but I would highly recommend you don't try to go through a forest without a guide, and it can feel like a forest sometimes. So this is what we need to talk about here, is using the purchase and sale agreement. Now, again, cash, taking over debt, or creating new financing with the seller. We're going to own this property. Now, next week, we're going to talk about the situation where the seller says, well, I'm not comfortable giving you the deed until, everything that I owe on this property is paid off. Oh, okay, well, we'll just lease it from you then, and you give us an option to buy it during the term of the lease. We'll get into that stuff next week. But for now, we're talking about owning. The deed is going to transfer to us. We are going to own this property, either because we're getting it tied up or we're buying it for cash, whether that cash is just straight up cash out of a bank account, or it's coming in from a new loan, or it's a situation where we're taking over payments. There's no new financing created on it. We're just taking over the payments from the seller. Their name stays on the loan, but we own the property, and we get that loan paid off, in due time. Or third, there's financing that's being created. The house is maybe free and clear, and we have to create terms for that new financing, with the seller getting the benefit of those payments until we pay them off entirely. Sometimes it's a hybrid. They've got a $300,000 house with a $200,000 mortgage on it. They let us take that subject to, meaning they let us take over the payments on that, but then we work out terms for the $100,000 of equity that they have. Maybe they want the $100,000 just paid as a balloon payment in 5 years with no payments, no interest on it. There's all different types of ways that could be structured. It could be structured as $1,000 a month until paid in full, for 100 months. There's lots of ways to do it, and you need to know how to do it. So that's when we use a purchase and sale agreement. Now, in terms of what that purchase and sale agreement is going to contain, again, it's hard for me because I'm not going to use my actual agreement on here. It just carries too much risks. If you guys go out and screw it up, you're going to blame it on me. And, anyway, there's a lot of things that, my attorney doesn't want me to do in terms of coaching and putting information out. Because, it is finance that we're talking about here. I'm not really giving, forward-looking statements or making financial advice to you. But in the sense that I do consulting in the training, I shouldn't just be blasting contracts out there where there isn't training to go with it. Personal training to go with it, not just static advice on how to use it, because if someone uses it wrong, it exposes me to risk, is what their view is. And most of the time I don't really care about that much, because I feel like it's worthwhile to get the education out there, and I feel like I'm doing a good job of explaining. But to take you through a contract, that can be difficult. So that's why I'm recommending another source. And you can get those agreements in that link that I just gave you. From Ron LeGrand. Okay, very good value, very good value. There's lots of videos, lots of trainings, lots of success stories. You'll even see some stuff from me in there. There's deals that I've done, either with Ron or without Ron, where I've made videos for him. I've conducted, question and answer sessions in there. You'll see some of that as well. I've known him for 30 years. So, okay, so I'm going to explain to you the elements that people get most confused by, and how to think about them. Okay, so what's the first part of your purchase and sale agreement? Well, the first part of your purchase and sale agreement is you have to buy it in some kind of a name, right? Well, do you buy it in a land trust? Do you buy it in an LLC? Do you buy it in a land trust with the LLC as the beneficial interest of that land trust? Or do you buy it in your personal name? Or do you buy it in you and your spouse's name? Well, the answer to the last two is no. I mean, you should not buy property in both you and your spouse's name. Even though I know, the spouse may want you to want to be on the deed, you're just exposing yourself to more risk. But the property shouldn't be in your own name anyway, because if you happen to get some kind of judgment against you in most counties in the U.S. and you own property, and your insurance can't pay that judgment off, and maybe you don't even have insurance for like umbrella insurance that will cover different things that could happen if your car insurance doesn't cover a liability payment, or some other accident happens, homeowners insurance doesn't cover it or whatever. If you get a judgment beyond what that insurance will pay, then it automatically attaches to the personal property to the real property that you own in your name. However, that doesn't happen if you owned it in in an LLC. And it doesn't happen immediately if you own it in a land trust. You'd have to be deposed. First of all, they'd have to find that you own the property, because on the public records, it'll say, the property is owned by such and such trust, but it's not public record who the beneficial interest of that trust is. So that's getting into a level of detail that you can work through with your attorney. Again, another reason to have coaching, so that we can go through that and show you how to get that stuff done so that you stay protected as you build up wealth. But you have to the buyer is going to be an entity. Now look, don't not go do real estate just because you don't have an LLC set up. You can do your first one in your name if you have to. It's not ideal. It takes 5 minutes to set up an LLC. But if you want to go ahead and do one in your name, I mean, especially if you're just going to assign the contract, probably not going to hurt you. Well, maybe it will. I don't know. Again, this is why we want to, get help when it's offered. So that's the first piece of it. Now, the next piece of it is, and this is where people get screwed up a little bit. And this is what I'll kind of leave you with, because I'm, kind of coming up on our half hour here, is that if it's cash, right, or regular financing, you're just going to, in every single contract, there's just there's an area to fill out, to fill in the blanks with respect to that. But where people get really confused is when they take over a property subject to an existing loan. Okay, if you buy a property subject to an existing loan, and the contract that you put on that, the paperwork you put on that, the agreement that you have with the seller is that you're going to buy it subject to the existing loan, everybody seems to screw this up. You don't have to write the terms of that loan into the agreement. Why not? Because the terms are already established. You're simply taking over the terms. That's what subject to existing terms means. Subject to the existing terms of a bank loan means. You're going to take over whatever the payments are, whatever the loan conditions are. You're going to take them over. So you're buying the property subject to the existing loan. You'll put the amount of that existing loan on there so that the title company or lawyer, knows what the price is that gets recorded at the county. But you're just taking over the payments on it. You don't have to write anything into the financing section of the agreement, unless it's a hybrid where you're taking over one loan, but then you're creating financing for the seller for their equity. Like that example I gave, $300,000 property, $200 is owed, they want $100 and they'll finance that for you, meaning they don't get the $100 at close, they get it later, or they get it in payments. That part you have to structure. So, or it could be a free and clear property, $300,000 property, and they're going to take, payments of $1,500 a month on it for, 5 years, with a balloon payment. You got to fill out exactly how that is going to be structured within the financing section of the contract. And that's where we're going to need to be mindful of things like this. When you own the property, okay, remember, using a purchase and sale agreement, you're going to own it, despite the fact that there might be, a loan on it. But when you own the property, who is responsible for taxes and who is responsible for insurance? You are. The new owner is, not the old owner. You're the new owner. You're responsible for the taxes and insurance. So if you tell a seller, I'll give you $1,500 a month for, I'll give you $3,000 a month for 100 months. That's how we get you to $300,000. Well, that's true, right? You'd pay it all off. But guess what? If you were thinking, well, I'm going to get $3,000 in rent, so it's break-even cash flow, it's not, because you have taxes and insurance on top of the $3,000 you have to give the seller. So the point there is when we buy property, we have to think about the chunk of money coming in versus the chunk of money going out. What my friend Ron calls Chunka Theory. Chunk of money coming in ought to be bigger than the chunk of money going out. And the chunk of money going out is not just the payment to the seller when you own, it's the taxes and it's the insurance. Now, if you take over a property subject to, most of the time the taxes and insurance are embedded within that first loan. They're escrowing for taxes and insurance as a condition of that loan, so it's already part of the payment. But if it's a free and clear house and you're creating new financing with the seller and you agree to a payment structure, don't forget that taxes and insurance affect your cash flow. That chunk of money is going to be one thing, and then you have the money going out to the seller, but you also have to pay taxes and insurance on it. Okay, that's something that people tend to screw up quite often. Now, again, this is why it is really, really helpful to suck it up, realize that education alone is not enough. Guidance is going to be extremely helpful, and it'll pay off in big dividends later on because we can dot the I's, cross the T's, write the contracts for you, make sure you've done everything well, and you can't put a price on being able to sleep at night because you know it didn't get screwed up because you're dealing with somebody like, me, Ron, any of the other people out here who are actually good coaches, and you won't have the anxiety and you won't have to lose sleep. Now, there is one other thing that I want to mention, and I'm going to refer you to another source here, and I'm going to go ahead and drop this in here. Let me grab the link. I want you to watch this YouTube video that Ron put out, and I'm just going to go ahead and post it up in here. Oh, I see we have some comments in here. Hey, Brenda, good to see you. Carlos, what's up? Jovan, Alicia, Barbara, Matt Black, what's going on, kid? All right, let me post this up in here. I'm just going to say watch this. Okay, I recommend watching that video that I just posted. Now, let me explain why. Oftentimes, you can structure a deal with a seller that allows you to own the house but begin making payments later to the seller, meaning that maybe especially if the house is vacant. Hey, we need you to make the next couple of payments and then we'll pick it up in 90 days and start making the payments then. And there is a way of doing that I don't think anyone does better than Ron, which is why I wanted to show you that video. Now, just so you know, I don't usually do that in my deals. Once I own the property, I start making the payments. One thing to remember about when you take over somebody's payments, so it's April right now. Well, guess what? If you closed on a property today, the payment that's due is actually for March when the seller was still on the property or owned the property. So to say, hey, you got to make this April payment, they're really paying March. So you can always make that case and give yourself 30 days before you have to make the first payment. It's unlike rent. Rent you pay forward, mortgages you pay backwards. Okay? So anyway, watch that skit. I think it just gives you a good idea of how to conduct yourself at the house when you go out there. Now, many of you may know that I also don't even do it that way, right? The way that I like to close these properties is I get the seller to state back what we orally agreed to on the phone and make sure they understand everything. And then I haven't countered anything. I just found out what their terms are, what they're definitely willing to do. I hit them with a DocuSign just from my office right here. Send them the DocuSign. When that comes back signed, then I know that they meant it. Then I'll go out and look, make sure everything's good, and then then I'll sign it then and close on it. Sometimes we'll renegotiate it to a degree like Ron is doing here. What he teaches, which is fine, and I would recommend you do this if you're a realtor as well, because it's a good opportunity if you pick up a listing if you don't end up getting the deal. But Ron likes to just kind of softly go through the terms and what he can do on the phone, and then he'll go out to the house. The reason I don't recommend doing that is because you're going to end up wasting a hell of a lot of time, because these sellers are going to flake on you. You're going to get out to the house. They're not going to sign the deal. And you will have got dressed up, gone out to the house, sat in traffic, and you could have been calling more sellers and getting people who are more agreeable to work with you. You have a better chance of getting the deal when you go out to the house directly versus doing it the way that I'm talking about, but you can get through a lot more people and not waste time doing it my way. So, there's more than one way to skin a cat here, right? And I'm fine with either way, but I think he just does a really good job explaining how to conduct yourself at the house in that video, and you ought to watch it. And if you have questions, come into this group and ask them, and I'll try to answer. If there's any conflicts or contradictory information, I'm happy to address what my view is. Not everybody does things the exact same way, but if you have the right strategy, you have the right approach, you have the ability to dialogue and answer questions, and after these next few weeks where we go through the agreements, you have the ability to put the things into writing and then get the agreements back so that you can close on them, then you're going to get paid. And you're going to get paid handsomely. And once you get paid handsomely once, twice, 3 times, you're going to want to scale up. And then that's what we're going to do, in the later weeks, is show you how to scale this up and run your marketing so that you can be, doing deal after deal after deal as much as you want. So with that being said, depending on if Duke covers the spread today and if Kansas covers the spread, I probably won't need to do, a deal this week. I probably won't need to either way, but just for kicks and grins, I don't usually like to take the favorites, but I have a feeling maybe Duke and Kansas go to the national championship on Monday, and you can tell me what an idiot I am next week if I'm wrong. All right, y'all. Have a wonderful weekend. I hope you're safe and sound and enjoying yourself, and if there's ever anything I can do to help you, please let me know. Appreciate y'all. Peace. Love, happiness. I'm out.